Lesson 2 in file sizes. Having saved the file that crashed, I'm going to reopen it to my handouts folder, and let's try to remedy, let's try to see what we can do to perform the very same operation and not crash. So we may need to take some drastic measures, but the model is very easily reconstructed. So we have this scene that we want. It's saved. Right? Click on Zoom Extents. So we'll be outside of the model. And whenever you're performing operations that require measurement or with some kind of exactitude, I would change the camera to parallel projection so that we don't introduce perspective distortion. I would also turn off shadows if I don't need them because they add to processing time. Okay, so here's a view of the model that will be useful, that we'll build on, and we are going to save this as a scene in the spirit of what we were doing before. We're going to rename it with the diag prefix as a isometric work view, so that if any disaster happens, we can double click on the scene and go back to this view. Next thing I'm going to do is save the file. Save. Save on a regular basis. It looks like that was done. So now, in an effort to resolve the issue that we had of crashing, a simple perspective, I'm going to turn off layers. We're going to turn off our exterior wall layers. They appear to be invisible anyway, so what's going on? Alright, so the west wall, looks like wall layers are segregated, so we'll turn off selectively several wall layers. You know what? We're going to save that out as a scene as well. Let's click on that without any thumbnails. Create a new scene. Diag, isometric, no walls. And save the file. Now what I'm going to start to do is delete geometry in the file. It is probably not contributing to the rendering. So there's a bunch of ungrouped stuff here. It shouldn't be ungrouped, but anyway. There's some elements out here that we're just going to remove because they can't possibly contribute to the interior that we were looking at before. Stuff out here that can't possibly contribute to the interior. If this were all on a layer, it would be great to... Well, I won't even bother. We can go to the outliner. Window. Let's set up a new tray. Outliner and other. Oops. Window manage trays. Outliner and other. Let's make sure we have the outliner there. So the outliner allows us to, gives us a glimpse into the model of all the elements that we have loaded. So if we identify one item like that, likelihood is that we can select all such items, right? Here I am looking at the outliner at component 128 and just removing all instances of it. This is component, this is group of component number 1 and 2. Whoops. We have component added on, so let's close that group. Let's just select these. They're easy enough to select. Let's select all of component 64. So we have a lot of ungrouped stuff. Model's responding kind of slowly. Component 1 and 2, oops. Let's just select these individually. They aren't labeled, so we can do this graphically, that's okay. I'm only 7 minutes into this. You can see that we have lots of individual little things like pillows and things that are probably not going to contribute to the overall perception of the spatial gestures that we're making in this model. So we're just deleting furniture. Pillows, whatever. Let's save at this point, and we're going to call this something slightly different. We're going to save as post L2, lesson 2, so that when we post the video, we'll have something to associate it with. That's saved. Very important now in components. We need to change the components in model and purge unused. That gets rid of all the components that were in the model that were causing the model file size to be exorbitant. Once that's done, we'll do save as again. I'm going to select this L2. It's going to prompt me to say, do you sure you want to write over it? I'm going to say yes. And when we save as a second time, we'll see what the effect was of removing those. Okay, so we saved about 38 megabytes. Let's continue the purge. Continue to remove elements. Stove, range, I'm going to guess that this thing isn't generating light. That table let's change the X-ray mode so we can select objects. Beyond, yeah. All right, so I'm going to turn off some layers. Turn off the truss layer. Let's see what layer this is on. It's a group. Right click, entity info. It's on the roof layer, so let's hide that layer so we can access some of this other stuff. This geometry is ungrouped. That's going to cause problems down the road, but built-in bed. All right, I'm going to guess that the student created that, so I won't remove it. Couple pillows. I can't imagine the water closets are causing excess. Alright, let's see. Let's make sure all layers are on now so that, island with dishwasher. I'm gonna guess, well, I doubt the student made this, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna remove it. Components. Again, purge the unused. File, save as. It's currently 107 megabytes. Let's just call it L3, just so that we have something benchmark to compare. We'll go back in and have a look. So we're down to 93 megabytes. That's not bad. So what's causing 93 megabytes? Let's make sure all the layers are on. Selecting everything, make sure it's on. Okay, all layers are on. Rather nice stair sequence in there, isn't it? It's pretty cool. Let us turn off exterior walls. It really doesn't do much for us. It looks like there is coincident with exterior walls some other walls. So I remember west wall, east wall, north walls. So let's see if we can identify some more components that are causing a high file size. Take these images out. I'm not sure how they were constructed, but let's see what they contribute to file size. I'm going to select all instances of component 10. These posters, whatever they are. That built in. Let's purge. Purge unused. And do another save as. Let's save as level 4. See if that gave us any economies. File save as. Down to 87. Something's causing. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to delete it and purge it. Well, let's undo that because it doesn't appear to be a component. What else do we have in this model? These are just railings. Let's look around. Rectangle rise, trusses. Bookcase wall. Where's that? Alright, I'm going to guess that was something modeled by the student. Let's do another purge. There's nothing to purge. Okay, so everything in this model is here. So we're down to 87 megabytes from 138. Let's go back to our the original perspective that we were setting up. So we don't have the furniture in here, but we ought to be able to render 20 minutes. Oh. Let's see whether this, if this doesn't crash, that means that somehow purging the model of that geometry helped me perform it. So now we're getting rendering. So somewhere between 140 megabytes and 80 megabytes lies the issue of why this file was crashing. Let's set up a few more perspectives. We'll try to generate some meaningful views of this interior as designed.